Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth lesson for the Introduction to AI for Teaching and Learning. Now that you know how to use a few popular generative AI tools and detect the use of AI, we're going to focus on evaluating the application of AI for teaching and learning purposes, as well as the development of your own classroom policies. So let's get started. As I mentioned before, today's lesson will focus on the value and application of generative AI tools for instructors and for students. This will include a review of appropriate uses for generative AI tools by your students in the classroom and potential uses you might find for performing teaching, research, and even university service tasks. Then we will go into strategies you can use to develop your own classroom policies governing the appropriate use of AI tools by your students. This will include a review of some of the resources that you can use to get inspired, from other university-wide policy language to individual classroom policies that other instructors have shared with the wider community. There are many ways that instructors can use generative AI to enhance our work. Certainly, we can use AI in the classroom to demonstrate concepts, and we'll talk more about that on the next slide. There are other opportunities we can consider taking advantage of with AI tools, such as streamlining pieces of our research process. For example, there are already a few tools that specifically support research functions, like Perplexity, Elicit, and ResearchRabbit. These tools will return summaries of current research with their sources cited, allowing you to verify what AI presents. Elicit, specifically, works by searching research paper abstracts, which can help provide a brief synopsis of the research, including simplified information on sample populations and methodology. ResearchRabbit, on the other hand, allows you to search for papers and build collections of papers. It also allows you to collaborate with others by adding comments to those collections or explore emerging themes from your collections and more. You might also consider using something like ChatGPT to fine-tune a research question that you have already written to see if there's a way to simplify or more clearly express it. Never rely wholly on what AI produces. You should never expect AI to generate a literature review for you, but AI might help you find current research or even get a feel for a potential research direction based on the patterns that AI finds in the literature. Just be wary of over-reliance on these tools or the results they produce to avoid skill atrophy. Another reason to be cautious of over-reliance on these tools is that they are quickly changing, and many now charge a fee for access to their services. This might be a barrier for you, or if you share these tools with your students, it might become a financial barrier for them as well. Again, we want to use these tools to enhance our work, and we shouldn't depend on them to do our work for us. Another way you might consider using generative AI tools is in the course design process. To be clear, it is always ideal to consult with a knowledgeable instructional designer on course design decisions, but there are some tasks that generative AI can support. For example, you can use AI to create images to liven up your presentation slides or to create other graphics to engage students. Currently, AI image generators are not great at producing meaningful charts or graphs, but it might be a reasonable substitute for clip art. Another way you might consider using AI in your course is to enhance a backwards design process. If you haven't heard of backward design before, the idea in a nutshell is to create your learning outcomes first, followed by your assessments, then the instructional materials to ensure the course content is aligned with the outcomes throughout. In this example, by following the backward design process, you might write the learning outcomes and run it through something like ChatGPT to see if there are opportunities to enhance or clarify the language. Or you might consider simplifying the learning outcomes into goal language, which you can share with your students in an easy-to-understand format. You could also ask something like ChatGPT what appropriate assessments might be deployed that would accurately measure student achievement of the learning outcomes. Another way you can enhance your backward design process is by entering your quiz questions, say for an assessment, is by entering your quiz questions into ChatGPT and prompting it to create slide narration based on the quiz questions to ensure your content is in alignment. But do keep in mind that this is really more of a brainstorming tool. I attempted to do this myself and found that the results were woefully insufficient, but I did appreciate having a sample script as it helped me to quickly identify the missing pieces, which was still helpful to my process. There are other tools out there like Learning Studio AI, which can take any topic and develop a quote-unquote course based on that topic. This won't provide a full university level course, and of course it'll need to be carefully vetted, but I do find it useful in a few ways. First, it allows me to do a quick review of the material, and I can share that quick review with my students. I can also use it to double check my own teaching efforts to make sure I'm not missing a big key concept. Again, this is an enhancement of the work we do, not a replacement. It can serve sometimes as a copy editor, it can serve as a brainstorming partner, it can serve in some ways as a quality check partner, but you will have to verify all of the claims that AI makes and use your own expertise to ensure the material is sufficient. As a study tool, these can be extremely powerful. Another way you might consider using AI is when writing emails. Do keep in mind that your institution hopefully has many folks that are now able to detect the use of AI in writing, and if they spot your use of AI in an email, it might offend your recipients. However, if you find it challenging to write emails that strike the right tone, you might consider running an email that you have prepared through ChatGPT to update the tone to be friendlier or more collaborative. Grammarly has a similar function as well. The emphasis is for you to use these tools to enhance, not do your work. Another use for an AI text generator is to use it to summarize missed events with meeting minutes. This can be a lifesaver if you have to catch up on a lot of meeting minutes when joining a new committee, for instance. Just be cautious about what the AI tells you is happening. A lot can be missed. But if the alternative is not reading the preceding 6 months' worth of meeting minutes at all, then AI might be a good use in this circumstance. In this case, you should always verify that the summary is accurate. Again, this is an enhancement of what you might have done, not a replacement for the discerning human eye. Another use case might be if you just want to keep abreast of changes from multiple committees. This might be a reasonable way to do just that. Use your best professional judgment. You will find other uses of generative AI tools the more you experiment with them. And in the final module for this course, you'll find more information about AI tools that just might be useful for you. We've talked a lot about the potential uses for generative AI by students, so let's review some of these opportunities. First, remember that AI can be used in the classroom in front of students to demonstrate ideas and concepts, from writing voice to critical thinking exercises. I've used ChatGPT to do things in front of the class, like summarize a table. This was an excellent exercise because the AI missed some key points, and that helped demonstrate AI limitations to students. I've also used tools like Perplexity that show their sources, which allowed us to do a source quality analysis, enhancing their critical thinking skills, which also exposed how tools don't always have the best quality sources for the information they produce. Depending on your AI course policies, you might consider showing students in class how to use generative AI to find sources and citations for research papers. This can be a viable method for finding related articles and authors and for identifying trends. Another use for AI in the classroom is by encouraging students to seek early feedback by using tools like Grammarly or Turnitin Draft Coach if your institution has licenses for these tools. These AI tools will check for spelling and grammar and even more advanced things like tone and clarity or even citations. These can allow students to gain the benefit of early detailed feedback on their writing, which can encourage positive writing habits. But as anyone who has ever used Grammarly or other tools like it knows, these tools are not 100% accurate. Preparing them for that reality is key. And as a general rule, students must be aware of the limitations and sometimes even the dangers of AI. We talked earlier about the danger of misinformation and incomplete information, as well as the amplification of racial and other biases, and other challenges associated with AI outputs. Another one of those dangers is related to the data the students share with the AI tools. For example, students might not realize that everything they put into AI tools may be logged. If they are entering in private information, such as a medical diagnosis, they are sharing that information with that company. Or if they are a creative writer and they enter in their writing, they may be unwittingly training the tool to write in their style. As I've mentioned before, another danger is over-reliance on this technology, which can reduce students' ability to critically think and problem solve independently, which presents a problem in and of itself. But there is also an issue when their access to the technology is disrupted. These tools will not be free forever. And there is another danger with chatbots designed to mimic natural language. Because the text outputs are designed to sound real and to sound authoritative, there is a danger inherent in humans finding meaning where there is none. In the 2021 article by Bender et al. On the dangers of stochastic parrots, these dangers are critically examined, which you will read as part of the required resources for this module. Keep these items in mind when designing your policies. There are benefits to this technology, but the dangers are real. And of course, another one of those dangers is the ease of committing plagiarism. So students must be alerted to the consequences of this and how to avoid plagiarism through a specific classroom AI policy. In this lesson, we're going to focus on AI use classroom policies as opposed to university-wide policies. However, any AI-specific classroom policy that you develop should generally be in line with any university policies that already exist. This will strengthen any classroom policy you enact, as there will be supporting infrastructure already in place. It's worth stepping back to examine university-wide and department-wide policies before crafting your own classroom policies to ensure that what you are proposing works with the resources that exist. Even if a university-wide AI policy does not exist yet, the language in a pre-existing academic integrity policy, for example, may provide a lot of the information you need when crafting an AI-specific policy. You will also find examples of university-wide AI policies in the resources for this module below this video. Refer to your institutional resources like your academic senate and academic integrity personnel, and to the participatory governance process to seek opportunities to collaboratively drive a university-wide AI policy where appropriate. So let's talk about classroom policies that govern acceptable AI use, if any, for your students. So why develop classroom-level AI policies at all? Because the use of generative AI tools is so widespread. Setting those boundaries for your students is important from the start. It is also important to spend the time to create these policies because a pre-existing plagiarism policy may not cover everything related to AI, because using AI to generate content can occupy a fuzzy gray area in terms of the definition of new content. Consider this scenario. Imagine a student writing a paper. As they write, the Grammarly AI tool suggests restructuring a sentence for clarity, and the student accepts the suggestion. In fact, the student accepts these types of suggestions multiple times throughout the paper. Did they cheat? Some might argue that this is not cheating because the student created original work and enhanced their work in the same way anyone might use a spelling or grammar check. But if the intent of the assignment is for students to practice syntactical rules like sentence structure or subject-verb agreement, then using a tool that automatically fixes these errors might indeed be considered cheating. This is just one small example of why classroom policies around AI are important. One class might require the use of generative AI tools to ensure that those students have the digital literacy they need for using these new tools in the workplace. Some students are taught how to use calculators because they're the industry standard. In other classes, even within the same subject, using a calculator might be cheating. Keep this example in mind when considering these policies, as AI is quickly becoming an industry standard. So teaching students the appropriate use of these tools instead of outright banning their use may be necessary for your subject matter. Again, this is why individualized policies are important. Furthermore, having individual classroom policies, as opposed to relying on institutional policies, means that they're easier to update and adapt as the technology and industry standards change. So how do we write classroom policies related to AI use? First, we look at what others are doing. Reviewing other AI-related policies can help guide your own policy writing. In this module, you'll find examples of both university-level AI policies as well as individual classroom policies, and both of these kinds of examples can serve as inspiration for your own policies. Your policies may be simple or more complex, but either way, here are a few items you should consider including in your own policy. Make sure to include clear, explicit instructions on the appropriate use of AI with examples. Similarly, you should also include clear instructions on the inappropriate use of AI with examples. This can help illustrate acceptable use scenarios so students are aware of the difference between what's permissible and what is not permissible. Another item to include in a classroom AI policy is if and how generative AI tools should be cited. It is also valuable to be clear about the potential consequences for the inappropriate use of AI. This portion may refer back to the university or the department level academic integrity policies, or it may refer to an informal warning process. But whatever that process is, it's important to share the seriousness of the consequences for violating the policy. There are a few more strategies you might consider trying out when developing classroom level AI policies. For example, if you are co-teaching a course or teaching the same section as other instructors, remember to reach out to them to discuss your initial ideas about a classroom AI policy or even share your draft. We are not working in a vacuum. Networking and sharing this language with your peers, whether you are directly co-teaching with them or not, is valuable. And here's another potential strategy for developing classroom policies in general that you might consider, which is the practice of co-creating classroom policies with your students. There's a resource on this practice in the module that will provide more information, and it may not be something that will work for you or your students, or you may be concerned that your students would be all for allowing cheating. But it's an interesting opportunity that you might consider investigating, as andragogy principles tell us that adult learners benefit from understanding how the subjects they are learning will benefit them and how the policies around their learning will support them in their academic and future career. Co-creating classroom policies allows them to take agency for their own learning. No matter what policies you put in place, it will be important to ensure those policies are enforceable and viable. As you craft your policies, also create an action plan for yourself that lists the steps to take if and when the inappropriate use of AI is detected. This action plan will likely include some of the strategies discussed in the module on detecting AI use, so feel free to review that content as you craft your policies and your action plan. Now that we've talked about crafting classroom AI use policies, your task is now to practice creating those policies. In the lesson below this video, you will find several resources, including other institutional and classroom level AI use policies that will help you formulate your own ideas. After you review those resources, you will complete a quiz to check your knowledge, and then you will get some more practice by using AI to generate drafts of a classroom AI use policy. Try using those prompt engineering skills, and remember, you do not need to use this draft in your actual courses. but the goal is to help you brainstorm the elements you want to include when it comes to your actual classroom policies. And remember, try not to use an AI-generated classroom policy if your intent is to ban the use of AI in the classroom. As a part of this practice and reflective activity, you will also discuss the process as well as any strategies you find yourself using that help you along the way. This work will help prepare you to craft actionable AI use policies that you can share with your students and colleagues. Remember, as these tools change and develop, your policies will likely change and develop as well. Don't forget that support is available should you need it. Now go create.